Hey guys, welcome back to a very exciting episode. Today I'm going to run you through the top 5 modifications that I recommend for your Mitsubishi Pajero to take it further off-road. Make sure you stick to the end as well because we're going to tackle the biggest hill ever in this thing, so let's get into it. Righto guys, so the very first modification I recommend you do to your Pajero is to invest in a good quality set of bash plates. They are so important because it protects the undercarriage of your vehicle, so when you're going to be off-roading, rocks and sticks will hit it, so you want to make sure you're protected. With the Pajero as well, the intercooler sits right behind the bash plate. So with the factory bash plate, it's made out of thin metal, so you can literally stand on it and it's going to bend in. So it's pretty much useless off-road. If you're going to hit a decent rock, that's going to bash in and hit your intercooler and you're going to run into all sorts of problems. And yeah, it's just going to be a nightmare and you'll end up replacing everything anyway. So just get bash plates before all of that happens. Right, so when you buy bash plates, there's crucial things to consider, and that's why we spend months designing these bash plates you see right here. So first thing is airflow, alright? So like I mentioned, you have the intercooler right behind the bash plate, so you need to have plenty of airflow to make sure the car runs cool, because if it's restricted, your intake temps will be higher and your engine will therefore also run hotter. So that's the first thing. The second thing, of course, is strength. So what we have here is 6mm aluminium bash plates. The reason for that is aluminium is cheaper, it's stronger because it's 6mm, and it's also so much lighter than something like mild steel or stainless steel. The other thing as well we did with these bash plates is we gave it folded sides. So the reason for that is sticks flicking up, it sort of doesn't get behind the bash plates and damage the intercooler as well. We also did this on the second plate, so as you can see it also has folded sides, and our transmission plate also has folded sides. And with our second plate we also made a dedicated slot so you can service the car and drain your oil through the hole as well without taking the plates off, so that's pretty cool. So next up, of course, is a good quality all-terrain tyre. Now the reason I say all-terrain instead of a mud terrain is just because it's going to excel on every single terrain you're on. So whether that is mud, snow, sand or on road, it's an excellent tyre. In particular, I run the Falcon Wildpeak 83W tyres. Now this is a light truck tyre, so it's a very good quality tyre, and I have to admit it's the best tyre I've ever had, and I definitely recommend them just because it is so good. In the wet it doesn't slip, off-road it's so grippy, and just about every terrain that I've done, mud, sand, it's just been awesome and I can't complain about them at all. Especially for the price, I reckon it's a tyre that needs to be considered. When it comes to the sizing, this is a 275/65/18 tyre. I get this question asked all the time, so there you go guys, that's the size. And of course the rim is a 18-inch. I'm not quite sure about the width, I think it's a 18x5 or 18x9, but it's a CSA Raptor 18-inch rim. So there you go guys, that's what it is, and I absolutely rate them. In terms of the sizing, the reason I went with 275 is just because it's a little bit wider than a 265 tyre, so it's just personal preference, to be honest. It just looks a bit better on the Pajero, but it is a bit heavier than the 265, so it's just something to think about, especially when towing, adding the extra weight. So for future reference, I would probably go a 265 instead, just because it's a little bit lighter and performance between the two would be probably the same. So there you go. And if this helps, when you're on road, I run it at 40 psi, and when I go off road, whether it's sand or just gravel roads, rocky trails, that sort of stuff, I jump to 20 psi. It will make the ride a bit more comfortable and be a bit easier on the tyre as well. And then of course you just go lower in psi the more hectic things get. And the other thing as well, I've done over 50,000 kilometers on these tyres, and as you can see the tread is still amazing. So yes, honestly guys, good tyre. So the next modification is the suspension lift kit. Now this is not essential, however I do recommend it if you're going to do a lot harder tracks, just because it will complement the tyres as well. Being independent, front and rear suspension, a suspension lift kit will raise the body and get your diffs high up from the ground as well. And if you pair that with tyres again, it will lift again, and you'll actually end up having more diff clearance than a solid axle vehicle that's on 35-inch tires. So that is pretty good. The other thing that a suspension lift kit is good for is not only clearance, but it also increases your approach angle and also your departure angle. So if you're going to go down into a dip, you're not going to drag your bumper on the ground and get things damaged as well. So that's pretty good. Now the setup that we went for is actually a combination between Dobinson suspension and West Coast suspension. So we run West Coast coils with Dobinson's IMS shocks. As you can see, they're quite beefy boys because it's a monotube shock, so it's perfect for towing and off-roading, whilst the West Coast coils are for comfort. So that's the perfect combination in my opinion. Right guys, so let's talk about the next modification, which is arguably the best one to make the Pajero more capable, and that is a diff locker. Now if you're not sure what a diff locker is, it essentially locks the diff so both wheels turn at the same time, so you'll have maximum traction. If it's an open diff vehicle or you don't have any diff locker, essentially what happens is if one of the wheels is in the air and the other wheel's on the ground, the wheel on the ground will sort of stay stuck and the one in the air will just keep on spinning. Alright, so that's how you basically end up stuck. So when you activate the rear diff locker, it's going to turn at the same time. So it doesn't matter if you have one wheel in the air, the other one on the ground, they both will turn and it will get you over the obstacle. Now with the Pajeros, there were two options, alright? So Pajeros that came with a rear diff locker and some didn't. Now for the Pajeros that didn't come with a rear diff locker, this is actually better, just because when you put a diff locker in, it's going to have its own separate wiring and it won't interfere with the traction control system like the factory rear locker does. So that's the one positive thing, just because when you install it, you'll still have traction control in the front, so you'll have maximum traction. However, with the Pajeros that has a factory rear diff locker, as soon as you activate it, it actually cuts off the traction control in the front. So you essentially have an open diff in the front and just a rear diff locker in the rear, of course. So this sometimes can be a good thing or a bad thing. It sort of just depends on the terrain you're on, because sometimes the traction control might even be better than that setup. So that brings me to the next product that combines with the rear factory diff locker well, and that's the traction loom mod. Alright, so essentially what happens is when your traction goes off, when you activate the rear diff locker, you can turn it back on. Alright, so then you're essentially in the same boat like I explained before with the Pajero that didn't come with a diff locker. You'll have maximum traction. So now you have a diff locker and you also have traction control in the front, so you'll have maximum traction when one wheel's in the air in the front. Hopefully this will now demonstrate what happens. Alright, so there you go. The front is just slipping on the left tire, and as you can see the right tire is just chilling there. So nothing is happening, even though the rear is locked. Alright, now watch when I turn the traction on. Alright, so I'm just going to do it again, go backwards. Alright, so traction on. Now have a look in particular at the right tire, so my right, your left. Alright, so the traction control is going to help me climb up. Have a look. There you go. Did you see that? That makes the world's difference. So there you go, guys. The other thing about a traction loom as well, you can also turn it off. So it doesn't matter if you have a Pajero that came with or without the rear diff locker. I'd recommend it anyway, because you can turn traction off when you do snow, beach work, mud, that sort of stuff, which is awesome. And because none of the safety features will interfere and you know, come in the way of cutting your power, that sort of thing, and you'll have maximum momentum. So yes, that's why a diff locker is awesome. And hopefully we can now show you as well. Look at that. We can now hopefully show you as well on this obstacle how far traction control will go by itself, and then also how far a diff lock will take me as well, and hopefully there's a difference. So let's find out. Alright guys, moment of truth, let's go. This is traction control only, so let's see what happens. sort of struggling now. Guys, it's so steep. Nicole can't climb out of the car to film, so hopefully this will do. Yeah, it's really steep and the camera just doesn't do it justice. But anyway, let's go. See how far we can go with traction only. Alright, so all 4 wheels are spinning at the moment. Alright, I think I'm gonna call it there with the traction only. This is crazy steep, eh? Alright, so yes, the thing about rocks is if it's only traction control, it's just going to spin all the time, just because there's rocks. So it's just, you're going to lose power, all that stuff. So let's just put diff lock in now. Alright, so diff lock in, and then traction switch as well. Alright, so we now have traction in the front, diff lock in the rear. This is not an ideal spot to start. You definitely want to keep your momentum, but anyway, let's see how far we can go. Right, so there you go. So it's already just climbing with the diff locker in. I can feel the rocks on the bash plates as well, and the sticks and whatnot, so that's definitely where you want them. Right, that's just traction. This is no joke. Alright, transmission temperatures are okay. Just gonna... Alright, keep climbing. Oh my goodness. Alright. Oh my goodness. Crazy, eh? Crazy, crazy, crazy. I think we found the limits. What do you reckon? This is crazy, guys. Absolutely crazy. This is what it looks like, so hopefully you can see it, because yeah, it's insane. But yeah, I think we definitely found the limits for the Pajero. Luckily we have a winch, so I'm just gonna check my options, see if I can winch out, because I don't really want to punish the vehicle, you know, going forward and then potentially break something. So I'm just going to see what my options are. I'll be back in a sec. Right guys, so as you can see, we've definitely made it up a lot further with the diff lock. But yeah, as you can see, this is no joke, guys. This is the angle we're on. So yes, it's definitely very steep. I can see what the problem is. There's a rock in the way, so I'll go a bit back and then I'll try the left hand side. But yeah, this is essentially what it looks like. So yeah, definitely no joke. So yes, I'll try and crawl forward, but worst case we'll just back out if it's too unsafe to do so.
Like an avalanche, part machine. I've never lost a battle that
We made it! Yeah, boy! Oh my goodness! Made it! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Whew, guys, we made it to the top. Oh my goodness! I can't believe we did it. Like seriously, this is actually very stupid. Guys, if you're gonna do this sort of hard tracks, definitely do it with mates, just so someone can help you out. Like, we do have a winch in case things go bear-shaped and we need to, you know, winch ourselves to the top. But if you break your CV and that sort of stuff, you really don't want to be stuck out here by yourself. So yes, it's not something that I'm going to do it again. So yes, just thought I'd put it out there as well. But yeah, glad the Pajero made it, and I think it's safe to say all the modifications paid off. But yeah, I'm definitely not doing this again ever. This is very sketchy. But anyway, we made it. Happy days. So it's all good.